welcome to this week's Sunday Supplement. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Hopefully tomorrow marks the first day on our route map out of lockdown. If you happen to be new or visiting us for the very first time, can I extend a special warm welcome to you? Shawla is going to start us by giving us our reading from the book of Exodus.
Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. So Moses thought, I'll go over and see this strange sight, why the bush does not burn up. When the Lord saw that he'd gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, Moses, Moses. And Moses said, Here I am. Do not come any closer, God said. Take off your sandals, for the place where you're standing is holy ground. Then he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. At this, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I've come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. And now the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I've seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now, go. I'm sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? And God said, I will be with you, and this will be the sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you've brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. Moses said to God, Suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, The God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, What is his name? Then what shall I tell them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, Say to the Israelites, The Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you.
Well, here we are in Exodus chapter 3. And historians believe that this period is around about the 13th century BC, between about 1270 and 1290 BC, and the time of Exodus is in the reign of Ramesses II, one of the pharaohs, and there are writings which mention the Hebrew slaves building the temple. So here we have the children of Israel coming to Egypt 430 years previously, and in that time had grown to a nation of round about 500,000, maybe more. And Moses, who had been born a Hebrew, was brought up in the royal family. And so he had immense power and influence and comfort above all of the rest of his people who were enslaved. And of course he was getting to a stage where he was starting to become concerned for his people. And he went out one day, it says, and he found an Egyptian maltreating one of his people, and he killed the Egyptian. But word soon got out, and he needed to flee Egypt at the peril of his life, to go into exile. So here he was, a man of position, suddenly having no position, a person of rank, having no rank, a person of power, having no power. And he married, and he had children, and for many years he stayed where he was. And this passage in Exodus chapter 3 takes us at the point at which God is confronting him about his people who have been left behind in Egypt. But this brings us to a really important principle throughout the whole of the Old and New Testament that we need to understand. And that is this, that God will use humble people and he will resist the proud. We have to be humble. Humble ourselves is better, otherwise God will do it himself. And in this case, Moses had to go through that period of humbling. And he did. And he got to a point where he was very lacking in confidence about his own abilities. We see that from the conversation that he was having with God. He needn't have been so lacking in confidence because actually when he got in front of Pharaoh, he didn't need Aaron to speak to him. And he knew what to say because God had empowered him to say. But this theme is picked up again in many other parts of the Bible. For example, in Matthew chapter 5, Jesus says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." And what that means is it's being poor in our own spirit, not poor in spirit, God's spirit, being strong in God's spirit, but being poor in our spirit, not having our own way of doing things and our own sense of direction. We allow ourselves to be full of God's direction, and then we will have the kingdom of heaven before us. In 2 Corinthians 4:6 it says this, "But we have this treasure," talking about the light of the knowledge of the glory of God, "in jars of clay," we are jars of clay, "to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us." We also see in Proverbs in the Old Testament, "Humble yourselves," it says, "under the mighty hand of God, and he will raise you up in due time." And Jesus talks about not taking the higher seat. When we go to a place, we take the lower seat so that the host can lift us up. So we're not supposed to be promoting ourselves in any way. We must allow other people and God to promote us. We don't fight our own corner. We allow God to do that if he so wills. So being poor in spirit and strong in God's spirit is such an important principle for us to learn, to have there with us all the time. Don't become proud, because God will not give us grace and not show his power. He wants to show his power through us, but only as jars of clay. What is being humble all about? Well, of course, a book can be written about this subject. And I won't do that, but I have one thought in my mind on this one. To never think of ourselves as being better than other people. To honour others before we honour ourselves. To understand that everyone else we meet is incredibly valuable as we are before God, and that we should not see ourselves as better, promote ourselves above, or cut in, as it were, saying that we know the way above somebody else. I remember doing a few years ago being asked to do a talk in a meeting in a restaurant, an outreach meeting. There would be many non-Christians there, and I was being asked to speak, but they thought I had a message. Well, I thought, well, I might have something to say, but I was extremely nervous. And I remember before the talk itself, I remember going to the toilets, and I remember just taking a moment and seeing my hands shaking in nervousness. And I went back, I did what I could, gave my message in lacking in confidence possibly way, but God really showed up in that meeting. Many people were affected, non-Christians and Christians, and it's like he didn't need me to be powerful and strong. What he needed was my obedience. Just like here, he wants Moses to be obedient and not to be full of his own ways of doing things.
We can't help it, Lord. Time after time, day after day, we look at life from our point of view rather than from yours, judging things by human yardsticks, from the perspective of this world. Where you see possibilities, we see problems. When you speak, we fail to hear. While you try to lead us, we resist and rebel. Thank you that despite our reluctance or inability to glimpse your presence and to recognize your hand at work, you continue to work out your purpose, patiently prompting and guiding, and somehow in all things working together for good. Teach us, lead us, take us, use us by your grace and for your glory. Amen.
And here I am, humbled by your majesty, covered by your grace so free. And here I am, without you I'm a simple man, covered by the blood of the Lamb. And now I've found the greatest love of all is mine, since you laid down your life, the greatest sacrifice. Your grace has found me just as I am, empty-handed but alive in your hands. And here I am, humbled by the love that you give, forgiven so that I can forgive. And here I stand, knowing that I'm your desire, sanctified by glory and fire. And now I've found the greatest love of all is mine, since you laid down your life, the greatest sacrifice. And majesty, your grace has found me just as I am, empty-handed but alive in your hands. We're singing majesty, forever I am changed by your love, in the presence of your majesty. Forever I am changed by your love, in the presence of your majesty.
Hi, Jamie. It's been nearly a year since you've been in London. Can you tell us
Yeah.
what you've been doing in that time?
Well, I guess
I guess the main thing was when I first moved, I thought I would just get a job here, but then I moved just 5 hours before lockdown. So sort of all those options sort of closed in a bit, and we were praying and stuff. Me and Caroline were praying and really sensed after a while that I should look at being an artist again, because I trained in that many years ago. So I thought, why not? So working in the morning from breakfast to lunchtime is my painting time. And then after that, it's been the afternoon. Most of the time has been working on the website.
So whereabouts do you paint, Jamie?
Well, during the really nice weather last year, I was able, and lockdown had eased, I was able to actually paint in the park, Bushy Park, which is only about 10 minutes away from where we live. So it was perfect. You know, I could carry all my stuff, all the paints and stuff, all the easels, and just plonk myself on the ground and start painting, because it's a beautiful park, mature trees and deer, just a kind of wild space almost. But then as the weather turned and sort of, I guess, I can't remember if it was another lockdown, but we decided to clear this room, the one I'm in, and make it my studio. Where I'm sitting is actually where I paint. So if the day's rough, then which has been most of the winter, I've been just in my studio. But the last week, I've been painting outside in the garden. So that's been really good. Just the amount of light that you get in the garden is so much better.
And when we spoke to you recently, I think you were just launching your website. Can you tell us more about your website, please?
You know, the main thing was going to be paintings, but we sensed to have like a page for my dad. There's little tangents that are happening and time lapses as well. So I've just been working on those again actually this afternoon. So, and launched a Google, a YouTube page for them. So I'll start uploading onto that as well. So just trying different elements, seeing how it all can run together really.
And what are your hopes for 2020, for the rest of 2021?
We'd love to move. So actually to buy a house somewhere. Like this place is lovely, but it's a bit small, and it's quite a lot to rent from. So
finally, tell me about your favourite painting.
I did this one yesterday in the garden. So I quite like the loose style. I'm enjoying gold leaf. So this is one that I've been, and Dad has left loads of books of gold leaf, which he used to use for bookbinding. So I'm starting to try paintings with gold leaf now. So
finally, just to say thank you, Jamie. God bless you and Caroline and all that you do and all that art that is coming out of your hands that God created.
For the last 20 years, I've been self-employed, mainly working on multi-camera filming of large events. Then in March 2020, everything stopped. The world I had worked in and the people I had worked with completely disappeared. It's been great to have been working on Sunday Supplement each week and helping to advise churches on how to get them up and running with streaming. But it's been a far cry from what I've been used to. So here we are, 2021, back at work. It's so good to be back filming in churches again. Obviously there's no congregation, but churches are putting on events to be filmed so that they can go out either live streamed or go out later on. So it's really exciting to be back in the hot seat. So here I am with all my gear, and we're just getting ready for filming tomorrow.
And the joy of working with people with faith is that we can remind them that there's somebody who is all powerful.
Thank you for being with us. It's always a delight to spend time with you. Please do join us again next week when we'll be taking a break from our sermon series to celebrate Mothering Sunday.